Begin by welcoming everybody this morning, and bright and early on this glorious autumnal day. Fall, I must remember to speak American rather than American English rather than British English. So it's a great delight to be back in California once more. I've been living over in England the last couple of years, but I was resident here in Northern California for about 15 years, and then visiting regularly for the 5 years previous to that. So this is very much a home from home, and also particularly here at Spirit Rock. I've been sitting in this spot here at the community hall for many years, coming together for these meditation days. Today I'm very glad that people have found a space in the day, particularly this being an election day. So it's not very hard to keep track of certain amounts of certain areas of the news. But I'm very glad people have come together to spend a certain amount of time focusing on clarity and peacefulness on a day when there's likely to be a lot of turbulence and emotional activity. So hopefully today will be an opportunity to find a quality of stillness and peacefulness in the midst of that, and also help us to engage with that activity and that turbulence in a skillful and well integrated way. So I always like to begin these events with a short period of the traditional chanting. So those of you who are up at the meditation hall up above yesterday evening for the Monday night, we closed the evening with a chant reciting the qualities of the Brahma Viharas: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity. So I thought we could start by doing the Pali version of the same chant this morning. Andamayang chaturapamanya bhasanang karoma se metta sahangatena cetasa ekang disang bharitava viharati tata dutiyang data tatiyang data chatutang itiyo dhammado dhiriyang sabati sambatataya sabhavan tang lokang metta sahangate na cetasa vipalena maha gatena apamanena ave rena hambaya pajena paritava viharati karuna sahangatena cetasa ekang disang baritava viharati tata dutiyang data tatiyang data jatutang itiyo dhammado dhiriyang sabati sambatataya bhavandang lokang karuna sahangatena cetasa vipale namahagatena apama nena have rena hambaya pajena paritava viharati mudita sahangatena cetasa ekang disang bharitava viharati tata dutiyang data tatiyang data jatutang itiyo dhammado dhiriyang sabati tataya sabhavantang lokang mudita sahangatena cetasa vipalena mahagate na pamanena ave rena hambaya paje na paritava viharati upeka sahangate cetasa ekang disang bharitava viharati tata datiyang data chatutang itiyo dhammado dhiriya sabati sabha tataya sabhavantang lok upeka sahangatena cetasa vipule namahagatena apamanena ave vrena maya pa jena paritava viharati te. It's indeed delightful to see many familiar faces out amongst the crowd, a couple of years older, but then of course so am I. So today we have an opportunity to gather together and, as I was saying, to explore the ways in which we can find a quality of stillness amidst the turbulences of the world. Election day is an emotionally loaded day. Yesterday, meeting with the teachers and the staff here, also meeting with the Monday night crowd. There was, predictably, questions about how to deal with election anxiety and the sort of intestinal tension that can come with that. So some of you might even be thinking, election? What election? But I suspect that's rather unlikely. Yeah. Even my sister over in England was and she wrote me an email yesterday saying that even she was aghast at the amount of coverage the American election was getting on the British TV. So I'm sure it's in the air all around everyone. And so, whatever our hopes or fears might be, it's useful to consider how Buddhist practice is really it's a set of tools that we can use to help us deal with the circumstances of our life, to understand our own mind, our own world, our own body, our own being in ways that help us to live in a fashion that is integrated and is bringing a quality of clarity and peacefulness and a sense of a quality of harmony, being in tune with things. Now, probably most of you are familiar with Buddhist practices, have done a certain amount of meditation and done retreats and so forth, and you know that we talk a lot about non-attachment, and so oftentimes when we approach Buddhism, then, or we try to work with our mind, then the way that we pick up the idea or the principle of non-attachment is it's based around an idea of sort of dissociating a quality of awareness from what's being experienced, so that we use these words like being the witness, being the watcher, the one who knows. And so that's very much a natural part, particularly in speaking about vipassana, insight meditation. You know, this is a centerpiece of the practice, the life of Dhamma practice here at Spirit Rock, and the very word vipassana. Like people speak about the vipassana community or vipassana meditation. This is talking about insight, and very regularly when we speak about insight, it's spoken in terms of simply being the witness and watching the arising and passing away of thoughts and feelings, moods and emotions. And I would certainly say that's all very well and good, and definitely to some extent it's in accord with the Buddha's teachings and with what is really helpful. But also what we can do is we can, in a sense, try to pick up that practice or that principle, but then we overdo it insofar as we try to make ourselves into a sort of a dissociated data reception unit, so that you are just sort of feeling, thinking, worrying, and that the impression can be that what we're trying to do with meditation is turn ourselves into a kind of recording device that takes in data and processes it, and then neutralizes it on contact. So, in a way, we can put a lot of effort into trying to sort of nullify ourselves or neutralize the mind, and we think, "Oh, well, I'm practicing really well. I don't feel anything." And so I would suggest this is a bit of a mistake, and this is not really what we're trying to do with meditation. We're not trying to create an abstracted sort of witnessing identity, like a little sort of CCTV camera that's picking up the world and recording everything with no real connection, in a sense, to what's being experienced. And so, because what seems to happen is that even though we think that sort of we are being detached, or we're being, say, the watcher, what's actually happening is that there's an attitude of negation or nihilism that's being introduced. And so that this can be a subtle and almost invisible process, and particularly when the messages that we get from the literature or other Dhamma teachings seem to be promoting that, or talking about that, or praising that as what we should be doing, and how that's a good and wonderful thing. But if we don't notice that, then what we're doing is we're trying to say embody an abstracted identity of this being the one who knows, or being the watcher, and that there's a dislocation from reality. And when we see the Buddha's teachings about the Four Noble Truths, and the second noble truth is the truth of the cause of dukkha, the cause of dissatisfaction. And usually that's spoken about just in terms of being desire or craving. The cause of desire or craving is the cause of dukkha, of that dissatisfaction, discontent. But and then when we think about craving or desire, then we usually think about sense desire, like craving for sensual satisfaction, beautiful things to hear and see and smell and taste and touch. But if you look a little more closely at the Buddha's teaching, then along with that quality of sense desire being the cause of dissatisfaction, then it's got two quiet partners that often don't get so much attention. So along with kama tanha, the desire for sense pleasure, you have the two partners, which are bhava tanha and vibhava tanha. So bhava tanha literally means the desire to exist, or the desire to be, the desire to become. So that's the kind of gaining. So this can be, whereas you think, okay, I'm not moved by sense desire. I'm not sitting here fantasizing about pizza or holidays in Bali, or a new widescreen HD TV, or the new the new iPhone 5 or 6, maybe by now. But rather, I think, well, I'm beyond that. But still, the mind can be very much taken up in the desire to become enlightened, to become concentrated, to get jhana, to get, blazing insights. So that the desire to become can be associated with very wholesome and noble, beautiful aspirations, but it's still craving. It's still that restless, hungering urge that keeps the heart in a state of tension and turbulence. So bhava tanha, the desire to become, is one partner trying to get somewhere, me trying to get somewhere with my meditation, me trying to become a good person, me trying to be more compassionate, me trying to be more wise, and so on, can easily be very, very wholesome objects. And then the partner, vibhava tanha, is the desire to get rid of, to get rid of our distracted thoughts, to get rid of our selfish, jealous feelings, to get rid of our doubts and problems, to get rid of unruly emotions, and to not be feeling, not to be swept up, and not to be caught up in things, and so that desire to not exist, to switch off, to not feel. And so often this is a very a common experience. It's often the case for us as human beings. We shuttle between those two, either trying to become happy, to feel good, to sort of fulfill ourselves, chasing some particular ideal, and when it doesn't quite work out, or we're really sort of weary with the effort, then we just want to switch off and and not feel. So we can often shuttle between these two, the desire to become and the desire to not be, to switch off. So that when we are say, talking about letting go or non-attachment, often it can be this quality of annihilationism, or the desire to not feel, to dissociate, to divorce the heart from any kind of feeling, so that we can be working very hard at our meditation, be doing the very best that we can to follow the instructions. But yet, unwittingly, what we can be doing is just creating more of the causes of difficulty, more of the causes of alienation and dis-ease within our own heart. So, what I like to recommend in terms of meditation is learning how to act and to give direction. So to work with our mind and our meditation practice, but without that turning into a sort of a becoming program, so that we are able to develop the qualities of concentration, develop the qualities of insight and wholesomeness, but without that becoming some, to use a word, without that being co-opted by the habits of becoming. And similarly, to develop the qualities of detachment or non-entanglement, but without that being a quality of rejection, or that sense of aversion or switching off or not feeling. So does this make sense? Yeah. Yes. So rather than talking about non-attachment or being the witness and those kind of things, I prefer my favorite phrase these days is unentangled participating. So you can put that in your notebooks, because I feel we can, if we mishandle this idea of non-attachment. What we end up doing is thinking, we end up praising the quality of not feeling or switching off. Like, you're thinking, I'm really good in my practice. As I said, I'm really getting somewhere in my practice. I don't feel a thing. It's like having a really good anesthetic at the dentist. There's a certain comfort in that, but it doesn't really liberate us. And so this quality of unentangled participating, I feel, is a more helpful framework for the efforts of meditation. And one way that we can talk about this is that, and to distinguish between the two, between, say, practicing with right effort and in a helpful way, it's rather like the left and the right hand. This is the example I like to use. So that on the one hand, we have the habits of the desire to become, the desire to get rid of. Trying to become concentrated, trying to become enlightened, trying to get rid of distracted thoughts and so on. So that's the bhavatanha vibhavatanha side. And then on the other hand, we have what's right effort, which means letting go of the unwholesome, cultivating the wholesome, and so forth. But just like the hands, they look very like each other, almost identical, but they're also opposites. Right? So similarly, in the meditation, the habits of bhavatanha, vibhavatanha, the desire to become, the desire to get rid of, they can look very much like right effort. They can look like we're sort of doing the right thing. But the key difference is that whenever the mind is caught up in the desire to become or the desire to get rid of, there's always the I, me and mine element woven into that. There's always the I want to get more concentrated, I've got to get rid of my chattering thoughts, I want to develop insight, I'm really doing well with my jhana now. Yeah. It's always got the I, me, mine element woven in there with an unquestioning and a kind of solidified presence. It's definitely me who's practicing, me the meditator, me who's going somewhere, or even me who's falling apart, me who's not getting anywhere. It's always based around and embedded with the feeling of I and me and mine. So the difference between that and the other approach, say learning to work with the mind with a more integrated attitude, is that there is still the making of effort. There's still work is being done to focus the attention or to develop insight and so forth. But it's not coming from a place of I and me and mine, but rather that activity or that work is directed by mindfulness and wisdom, by a radical attunement to the mind and the present situation, and so that they can look just like each other, but they're also opposite. Or like T.S. Eliot described in one of his poems, it's like the stinging nettle and the dead nettle. They live side by side in the hedgerow, but they look like each other, but they're actually completely different plants. So this, with that in mind, this principle of unentangled participating, then in relationship to today and the meditation and the presence of the election, of course you realize the election only applies to human beings. The deer on the mountainside here and the squirrels are completely uninvolved. They are oblivious. They're not having an election day, as far as I know. So it's also good to keep this in context. The turkey vultures are not aware of any vote going on. They just, it's just another day in the fall. So we can keep things in perspective in that way. But also in terms of watching the feelings of hope or fear, anxiety, excitement, indignation, the surges of feeling that might come up during the course of the day. And we'll look at this somewhat during the meditation this morning. Rather than trying to use your Buddhist practice and meditation to sort of switch off the feeling and try and sort of make it go away, or look upon the feelings or emotions as unwanted intruders, it's more a matter of learning how to participate in that feeling, to know those feelings and receive them and accept them, but without confusion, without entanglement. So this is the key element, I feel, is learning how to be with the flow of our experience, with our perceptions and emotions and thoughts and so on, to see them, to know them, to feel them, to not be afraid of them, or not to think of them as somehow being intrusive or not belonging, but also finding how in that very acceptance we're not being burdened by them or stressed by them or carried away by them, but we're not freezing our heart, but we're also not letting the heart be overwhelmed by that. And in that unentangled participating in the realm of feeling and perception, then we find ourselves able to respond. So it's not we're not trying to make ourselves passive. So sometimes it comes across that again, like with Buddhist practice, that we're trying to turn ourselves into someone who's a completely passive observer, or someone who's I'm unattached, and therefore taking that to mean I'm not involved, or I'm not going to intrude or disturb anything or anybody. But our very existence, we are part of it. We are it. We are part of the world. You can't really detach yourself from the world because you are the world. And so that is, rather than thinking that, say, dealing with intense emotions or feelings by just, say, trying to be passive or dissociate from it, or take a position of kind of non-involvement, I feel it's more helpful to consider how we can use our intrinsic involvement in a more skillful way, and by recognizing and allowing ourselves to participate, to be involved in that way, then we find ourselves more able to respond to the current situation that we're in, whether it's just in a conversation, whether it's in the work that we do, or our interaction with the world on a broader level. We're able to respond in a more integrated and helpful way. So with regards to working with emotion, and one of the things that is most useful, a way of working with it, is because our mind likes to tell stories. You know, that we have a thought like, oh my goodness, it's election day today, and what that means is, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and what happens if it's the mind immediately gets caught up into its stories, its lists of things to do, and its array of opinions about things. So, in order to develop the qualities of mindfulness and wisdom in relationship to this, it's most helpful just to be able to identify what the feeling is, rather than trying to sort of go into it and sort it all out, or figure out a conclusion or an interpretation. Just to when a feeling arises, say, oh my goodness, it's election day today. I've got to go and vote, and I wonder how it's all going to turn out. And then, right there, just freeze that particular thought, and just before you let the mind go into any kind of ramifications of that, or projecting into the future, or dwelling upon anxiety, to just be able to, in that single wave of thought, to be able to recognize, oh, this is oh my goodness, it's election day, I've got to vote, and I wonder how it's going to turn out feeling. It's that feeling. You don't have to have a comment about it or do anything else with it, but just to be able to sort of, in a sense, clarify the attention. That's what's happening in this moment. It's oh my goodness, it's election day, I've got to vote, and how's it going to turn out feeling. You don't know how it's going to turn out, but at this moment that's not immediately significant, because what's the present quality is this certain feeling. That's what's being known right now. Or maybe you're experiencing, oh my goodness, that's a great idea, I never thought of that before, feeling. That's what this is. And then, or maybe what you're experiencing now is, oh, I never thought about that either, feeling. So, as I was saying to people yesterday, I use this kind of practice a lot, because being the recipient of the role of abbot of Amaravati, which it has a resident population of about 50 or 60 people. Usually about, on average around the year, we have over 80 people staying overnight every day in the retreat center and the monastery. So I'm the recipient of a lot of feelings and opinions, and so when you're in the middle seat, then you are the kind of bullseye. So when people want something to be solved or decided on or organized, then there's one place that they go to. And so then the mind can easily get drawn into trying to figure out and calculate solutions, or solve people's problems, or deal with waves of emotions of excitement or intensity or aversion or whatever it might be. And so I found this a tremendously helpful practice. So to just be bringing the attention to the felt sense of each moment. And then what you find is when you do this, rather than just, again, creating a sense of dissociation, oh, this is just a feeling, it's over there, that then you're in a sense identifying, clarifying what is the felt sense of the moment, and then bringing the attention into the body. Okay, where does this particular feeling sit? What's its texture? How does it sit within the body? Is it a tightness in the neck? Is it a vibration? Is it a tension in the stomach? Is it a quality of coolness? What is it? Where is it? How does it feel? And then simply bringing the attention to that sensation in the body, a feeling in the body. And then when we are bringing our attention to that, there's a quality of kindness and acceptance within that, so that we are receiving and knowing the quality of this moment and our heart's response to it. There's an acceptance of that. It belongs, so that there's a kindness towards it. So not pretending that we necessarily like every aspect of it, but we're recognizing here it is. And that in essence, this is what loving kindness is about. It's to do with a radical acceptance of all things. So when we are practicing loving kindness, it doesn't mean we're trying to like everything, because some things are not likable. But what it's saying is that this is part of the natural order. This feeling, this mood belongs, even if it's abject terror or great discomfort or physical stress. There we can see, well, I have a body, I have a mind. This is part of the natural order. This is how it feels. It's like this. And in that quality of acceptance, of recognizing its presence, then there is an attunement to it. And then out of that attunement, then we become able to respond in a clear and say effective way. And that response might be, don't do anything. Or it might be, you need to say something now. Or it might be, be very, very, very still and pay attention. So that when we're working with emotion, then we're not trying to push it away. We're not trying to sort of sort it all out and solve it on its own terms, but we're simply recognizing it as a felt response to the presence. And then by bringing that quality of awareness and receptivity to our emotional states, receiving it, say owning it in some respect, then we find that quality of unentanglement. There's a way that the heart is not swept up by the content or the texture of the emotion, and particularly because the physical sensation of it is very straightforward. The body has a very monosyllabic language. Our thoughts get very complicated, but the body, when you pay attention to its moods and its sensations, they're very straightforward. They're very simple and discernible, and by that quality of simplicity and lack of complication, then to be able to know that, to attune that, and to have the sense of acceptance. Yeah, this is how it feels. This is the felt sense of this moment. Then we can see that action can come forth, and it may be quite vigorous or determined action. We can say or do things that can be quite involving and quite engaged, but they're based upon that quality of attunement. So there's a radical peacefulness and simplicity and a straightforwardness that then informs our actions and our words. So I think that's about enough by way of an introduction, a few opening reflections today. So we'll have a period of sitting meditation now. So anybody who needs to adjust themselves to get comfortable, please do that. We've got plenty more cushions and props and stools and things, but please get yourself sorted, and we'll have the opening sitting. First of all, just bring attention to how you feel this moment before we try to do anything to affect or change the body or mind. Take a moment just to notice, how does your body feel right now? Warm or cool, light or heavy, comfortable, uncomfortable? There is no right or wrong feeling. There's no wrong place to start. But it's always helpful to notice where that starting place is. What's the material that we're working with? Just take a moment then to notice how this body feels. How is the mood of the mind? Are we feeling tired, energetic, depressed, cheerful, excited, bored? How is it? Again, there's no right or wrong mood. No wrong place to begin. But just notice, bring attention to what's the mood that we've brought into the hall with us. How is it now? What's the material that we're working with? Now bringing attention to your spine, this physical axis, the central pillar of the body. Invite the spine to stretch and to lengthen to its full, comfortable, natural extension. Not to be rigid or tense, but just let the body grow and stretch till the spine is comfortably at its full length, growing to its full height. And feeling the presence of the spine as the very axis of the body, and then allow the rest of your physical form, the rest of the body, to relax around that. To consciously soften the muscles of your face, your jaw, and around your eyes. Relaxing the shoulders, the stomach, inviting the whole body to settle, to be at ease. Letting a wave of relaxation flow through the whole body, from the head to the shoulders, the trunk of the body, through the arms and hands, through the hip joints, to our legs, all the way to our feet. Giving ourselves permission, allowing the body to be fully